Lauren, how are we doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing well. How can I help this morning?
Well, my question's about boundaries and how to cope if people or a particular person won't respect those boundaries. So my father was sexually abusive when I was a child, and I hadn't really told anyone as a kid, but I knew that whenever I was an adult and I had some power, that I would do something about it and that he wouldn't be able to do anything to us anymore. So now as an adult, my husband and I have set up boundaries for him, but he doesn't really respect those. We've moved the boundaries further and further away just to protect our kids, because if he's already stepping over the boundary, we want to make sure that stepping over doesn't affect our children. But now at this point, we've moved him far enough away that he's supposed to not be contacting us at all, but he still does. And then he's getting more sneaky about it. So he'll write us letters but not put a return address on it, or try to get my brothers to contact us. So this has been going on for about 5 years, so I'm not really sure if we can expect him to ever change, or if maybe there's something that we can, that I can implement to help me cope. It really bothers me a lot whenever he does that.
Yeah. So I'm going to go all the way back.
Mm-hmm.
And there are two people on planet Earth that were given the singular task of making sure you are loved and connected. And one, if not both of them, utterly and drastically not only failed that, but they scorched that. And I want to tell you, on behalf of your community and your friends, I'm sorry that happened. That sucks.
Thanks.
Dads are not supposed to abuse their daughters.
No.
Okay?
Yeah. No, they're not.
And I don't want to blame your mom. I don't know that situation, and we don't have time for that. But moms are supposed to be there to protect their daughters too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And I want you to know all of that sucks, and I'm sorry that happened. Second, when you came out and talked about this, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
When did you decide to talk about it?
I actually didn't. My husband and I started having kids, and we started having daughters. So
every alarm you have in your heart and mind was set off, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep. As soon as we found out we were having girls, we knew we had to do something. And so we lived a long ways away from them. So we just had set up that he wasn't allowed to come visit. Mm-hmm. And if he did, he wasn't allowed to stay at our house, and he had to be around the kids only with us in the room. We felt like we could do a good job there. But after we had our second daughter, my husband was at work, was going to go back to work, and I was about to go back to work. So I asked my mom to come and help when I went back to work. And he then, of course, jumped in real quick and said he would love to come up and help and watch our girls. And then I was like,
No.
Yeah. Well, and we had never said anything. So, and I feel like I just don't have a lot of courage whenever it comes to him. So I just texted him and told him he wasn't welcome where we were. And then he apparently was confused and showed the text to my mom, who had kind of maybe had an inkling that something had gone on when I was a kid, but she started quickly putting two and two together. So
listen,
then it all came out.
Your voice, the words you were using, are classic language of somebody who has been abused and traumatized by someone who was supposed to love them. Okay? Mm-hmm. And do not, please don't beat yourself up for things like courage, for things like feeling afraid, for things like feeling hurt. Please let yourself off the hook for that. There is a little girl inside of you that is still trying to protect you. Okay? Mm-hmm. And I want you to know she's done her job, and it's time for her to go lay down.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
And when you feel that feeling of, and your heart starts racing really hard, and you feel like you need to have a hard conversation, and you just start to flinch, I want you to exhale and say, thank you, sweetheart. I've got it from here. And that's when the rage-filled Lauren can show up. The adult Lauren who will burn a house down for her baby girls. Right? Then she can show up. Okay?
Okay.
So boundaries are important, and I talk about boundaries a lot. Our friend Henry Cloud, the master, the guy who literally wrote the book called Boundaries, talks a lot about the importance of drawing boundaries. This is different. This is nuclear. This is, you will stay so far the hell away from my family and my children that if you sneeze in this direction, I'll call the cops on you, and I'll call them again, and I'll call them again.
Yeah.
And here's the thing.
And I would. I just don't know. He just seems like he's not listening to that.
People who are broken in the way that he's broken, and if you've listened to me enough, I don't like to use that term. Child predators, people who prey on children, people who abuse children sexually, they only respond to power. That's it.
Yeah.
And they don't get inklings, because an inkling is a crack in the concrete that they can slither into. They don't get suggestions, because suggestions, they feel like vulnerability, and someone who preys on children preys on vulnerability.
Yeah.
And so your brothers, have you sat down and had a real direct, hard conversation with them?
Well, I've told them everything, because my other brother also has a daughter.
Okay.
I feel like they didn't know until about 5 years ago, and their world kind of came crashing down. I haven't told them what to do. I've been trying to let them kind of navigate that.
Have you explicitly told them what happened?
I emailed them.
Okay.
I told them everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I felt like I had to.
Yeah.
I sent it to both of them, and I said, I don't ever want to talk about it again. You
And
guys
hey,
have all the information you need.
this story is your story, and nobody is allowed to ask you questions and force you to answer things you don't want to answer. This is your story, your narrative, your world, okay? And I want you to always feel in control of that narrative, and when you don't, that's when I have control of part 2, which is I'm walking away, okay?
Okay.
So you control the story.
Okay.
But your brothers may need some coaching. And as you mentioned, if they had idolized this man and they had pumped him up and suddenly they found something out about him, then they might need some guidance. However embarrassing that is, I wish they wouldn't need guidance. I wish they would have men in their life that they could sit down and talk to who would be straight with them. But here's the guidance. That disgusting man will never be involved in our family get-togethers. If he knows where we are, I am not going to be there, because my job is to protect my heart and mind and my soul and my daughters. Your husband is going to step up and help too, because his job is to love and honor and walk alongside and protect you and his daughters, right? And there is no word mincing moving forward. And I'm not telling you what to do. I hope I'm empowering you. That little girl can finally lay down and go play like she's supposed to.
Yeah.
And freaking
I feel
Lauren.
like most of the time I live great like that. My husband's great, and we live a ways away from him. But even just a couple, maybe 2 weeks ago, my brothers came and said, well, what are we supposed to say to Dad whenever he asks about you? And I was like, why is he asking about me? He knows he's not supposed to have anything to do with me. But I was like, why do you even have to ask?
Yes.
I told them that they should tell him to ask me if he wanted to know something, and he knows he's not allowed to contact me.
And so here's the thing. Give them a couple of words to use, which is, y'all are not to speak on my behalf to that disgusting person. My hope is that you would never talk to him.
No.
He cashed out his father card. He gave it up.
Yeah.
And he has done nothing to redeem it. Nothing.
No.
Right?
No. Yep.
And so I would tell your brothers, I don't want to have a conversation with you about that man ever again. Ever. And if any of you guys give him our address, if you send him any photos of his granddaughters, then I'm done with y'all too, because you have chosen a side that is not one that I'm comfortable with. And there's a period at the end of that sentence.
Okay.
And here's the thing. I need you to hear me directly when I say this. There wasn't something wrong with you as a baby girl. There was something wrong with him.
Yeah.
There is nothing wrong with your boundaries now. The problem remains with him.
Okay.
And I want to honor your brothers. I know it's confusing and it's easy on this side of the fence to be like, they should just do that. It's hard. I get that. But your brothers have a responsibility and they need to get it done.
Okay. Do you think if my dad had any chance of ever being redeemed, like ever coming, do people like this ever come around? And if they ever would, what? I kind of felt like he might have to hit rock bottom, which is lose absolutely everything if he was ever going to look inside of himself. But I thought that maybe he'd have to lose his whole family.
I believe strongly. I mean, the cornerstone of why I do what I do is because I believe in redemption. I believe there is no one person who cannot, with the help of a lot of other people and with God and a lot of strength and a lot of support, often professional help, can't claw their way back. I believe that. I also know the data that says adult men who abuse young children have a very, very hard road back if they ever want to come back. And it starts with a getting on your face in the mud and begging for forgiveness and being completely honest and open, and then seeing professional help for years. And still, I'm never going to leave that person alone with my daughters, period.
No.
Right? No. I'm not going to have that person to my house, period. The relationship is forever altered because of what they did, because of who they chose to be, not you. And those who do that are master guilt trippers. You are the one screwing up Christmas. You're the one that wrecked my marriage. You're the one that screwed up my relationship with my sons. Bullcrap. He did. What you are having to do is put the fire out that he lit. And that means you have to stand in the front yard with the hose and get everything wet. And he set the roof on fire, but you're having to douse the pictures and the couches and the piano and the guitars. You're dousing everything because of a fire he lit. And what abusers do is they stand in the front yard and say, why'd you get my pictures all wet? Because you set the fire, dude. Right? So I do believe in redemption. That is not your story to walk.
No. My brothers just ask, and I told them that I'm not the one who can help him. I know that for sure.
And they're not the ones who can help him either.
You don't think they can do anything?
Absolutely not.
They keep thinking they're like, well, I had asked him to go to counseling. This was myself years ago. And he went for like two times, and he said it was way too hard. It made him cry. He was so sad.
Yes. There she is.
And then he quit. So then that was when we decided there was no hope for us.
Then he's a coward. Well, he is a coward,
he is.
And he's not willing to do the work. So is there redemption possible for him? Yep. Is he willing to do it? Nope.
No. Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
And that is not something your brothers can do. And I appreciate their heart, man. They love their old man, and they're trying to rack their brains. I can't believe this happened. But it is what it is.
Okay.
What they can do, and brothers out there listening to this, there are moments when our parents blow our minds. I cannot believe my dad did that. Here's their choice. And if you listen to my show at all, you also know I don't like binary choices, either ors. I'm giving you an either or. They can choose to double down on their sister and to reconnect with you, because you probably have years and miles of pain and disconnection that you're going to be healing from for the rest of your life. And they can love you. And every time they reach out to you and say, hey, what about Dad? It hurts because you don't even have the words for it. And your body falls apart from the inside out. And you're like, what? And then you look in the mirror and think you're crazy.
Yeah.
And so what they can do is they can let him know. You hurt our family. You imploded our family because of your sickness, because of your choices to abuse our sister. And my guess is you aren't the only one. That's my guess.
Yeah, I hope not. But yeah, I know the statistics, but yeah. And
so he chose that. And until he chooses to get, to feel uncomfortable in counseling for a couple of decades, he should be in jail, quite honestly. And what I'll tell you this, here's a hard thing, and then we can wrap the call up.
Okay.
The hard thing is this. If you know that he has access to kids,
I will go to the police.
You have to report
I will
that.
go to the newspaper. I will tell everyone in the entire world. I've already run it through my mind.
But running it through your
he
mind
tried
and
that
actually
once.
doing it are two different things.
I would do it. I already know for sure that I would do it. But he did try once to have some kids around him, and my brothers completely flipped out. And, of course, and then he stopped.
Flipping out that's step 1A. Step 1B, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is calling the police. And
do you think I should call the police if he even makes, do you think I should have called the police back whenever he got a girlfriend who had granddaughters?
Yes,
I don't know
I do.
when to.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
I absolutely do.
All right.
And I don't have a lot of quarter for this situation at all.
Okay.
But yes, and if he reaches out to you, I would call the police. If he has a restraining order, if you have a restraining order against him, I'd call the police. If he gets in contact with your brothers and wants to go visit them and their kids, I would call the police. And I would tell your brothers, every time I know that he's at your house around kids, I'm going to call the police.
Okay.
If you want to make a police record about your childhood, depending on what state you're in, there may not even be a statute of limitations on that deal.
There's not. I already looked.
That might give you a step towards healing because he's not getting the message.
Yeah.
And every time he tries to ask about you, it's a power move. Every time he sends you a letter, it's a power move.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And he will only respond to somebody
who laugh at me.
Do what?
I kind of thought about being like, you won't leave us alone. We should tell the police. But then I thought they'd just laugh because it was like, he sent you a letter, ma'am. You're fine.
Nope.
I don't know.
If you go to a sex crime investigator who knows what they're doing, and you go to a sex crime advocate who knows what historical trauma does to children and how that ricochets through their life for the rest of their life, they'll hear you and they won't laugh at you.
Okay.
They'll honor you. They'll honor your story. And at best, they can go to his house and go through his stuff and open an investigation. At worst, they've got him on record.
Yeah.
So that if he shows up at somebody else's house again, then people can get involved.
Okay. All right.
But I want you, here's the thing though, you don't have to yell and scream and fuss and fight. This is your story and your narrative. If you see that he's around kids, you do. You have a responsibility. I'm putting that on you. But
I will.
I want you to never lose control of the narrative again. Of your story, of who you choose to tell it to, how you choose to tell it, that's yours. Okay?
Okay.
You've had enough people in your life take your power away.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you got a husband who loves you. You got 2 baby girls that you love dearly. And I hope that you can be honest and direct with your brothers in a way that they can now understand, oh, we've got to pick. Okay. We've got to take a side.
Okay. All right.
Is that cool? Hey, thank you for trusting me with a call.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. That was helpful.
You're a brave, brave woman, Lauren. And you've got a long road of healing. I want you to make sure you are doing the work to be healed too. Make sure you get with a good trauma therapist who can walk alongside you, give you some tools for when that spins up in you, give you some tools to walk alongside if you do choose to call the police on your dad, who will walk alongside you and may even be in the room with you when you decide to meet with your brothers, may give you some language to talk to your husband, and more importantly, give you some language to talk to yourself. But as I started the call, I want you to let that little girl who's been protecting you for years and years and years, I want you to let her go out and play. And I want you to let that healing begin.